Welcome to today's explainer. Look, if you've been writing simple Python scripts for a while, you have probably hit that wall where your code just becomes this tangled, messy web that's incredibly hard to read. Well, today, we're fixing that. We are going to master one of the absolute most transformative concepts in coding, object-oriented programming, or OOP for short. So let's just jump right into this with a massive question that honestly every programmer faces at some point. You already know your basic data types, right? Integers, strings, lists. But how can we create our very own custom data types? How do we literally tell our code what a student is, or an employee, or a car? Think about it. Python obviously doesn't have a built-in car data type. So how exactly do we build one from scratch?
Here's our game plan for today. We'll start with the power of OOP, then break down classes versus objects, dive into the core building blocks, go over some common mistakes to avoid, and finally wrap up with real-world OOP projects.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the power of OOP.
The foundational definition you need to lock in is this. Object-oriented programming organizes code using classes and objects. When you're just writing regular procedural code, things get really messy as your program grows. It just turns into this giant wall of text. OOP is a total paradigm shift. It models your code after real-world entities, creating a beautifully structured, organized system instead of just a tangled web of commands.
And why does this shift actually matter? Because it gives you massive reusability and scalability. Instead of copy-pasting the same chunk of code 50 times, you literally just write it once. It allows your program to safely grow from a tiny script to 50,000 lines of highly maintainable software. Basically, it's the ultimate structural solution that separates amateur scripts from professional software. Which brings us nicely to Section 2, classes versus objects. To really get OOP, you kind of have to think about architecture. A class is basically the blueprint drawn up by the architect. It defines the entire structure. But, you can't live inside a blueprint. It'd be pretty drafty. The object is the actual physical house built from that blueprint. And the beauty is, you can build as many physical houses, or objects, as you want from that one single class. Let's ground this blueprint analogy with a few real-world examples. If student is the class, meaning the blueprint defining what information a student should have, then John or Sarah are the actual objects. If car is the class, then a red Toyota Camry is the object. The exact same thing goes for an employee profile or a bank account. The class sets up the structure, but the object holds the actual, specific data.
The sheer efficiency of this is just incredible. One single class can be used to create thousands of distinct objects. You write that bank account class just once, and then you can instantiate thousands of unique bank account objects from it without ever rewriting your core logic. This right here is where the true scalability of object-oriented programming kicks in.
Moving right along to Section 3, the core building blocks.
So now that we have the blueprint metaphor down, how do we actually write this in Python? It all starts from the bottom up with one really simple word. To create a class, you literally just use the class keyword. That is your signal to the program that you're stepping out of normal scripting and you're about to define a custom blueprint. It's your gateway into the world of OOP. Once you actually have a class, you're going to need a constructor. In Python, we initialize our objects using a very specific function. It's called init, written as __ init__. Think of this constructor as your personal setup crew. It runs totally automatically to prepare your new object for use the exact moment you create it. Now, inside that constructor, we define what are called instance variables. These are variables that belong to specific objects. So if our class is student, the instance variables would be things like name and grades. Even though every single student comes from the exact same class blueprint, instance variables are what ensure that John's grades are kept entirely separate from Sarah's. Okay, but what about actions? That's where methods come into play. Methods are really just functions that live inside your classes. If variables are the nouns or the data of our objects, methods are definitely the verbs. They give our objects their specific behaviors. A bank account object doesn't just hold a balance. It also has methods like deposit or withdraw that actively change that balance.
All right, let's look at Section 4, avoiding common mistakes.
Look, I want to save you hours of debugging headaches right now. The absolute most common beginner traps are forgetting the self keyword and misusing the constructor.
Whenever you define a method in a class, its first parameter almost always has to be self. That is how the object refers to its own data. And hey, if you misspell that init function, your setup crew never arrives and your object is just not going to initialize properly. So keep a very sharp eye out for those two. We are in the home stretch. Section 5, Real-World OOP Projects.
To really cement all this knowledge, I've got a logical progression for you to practice. Step 1 is a mini project. Try writing a student class management system. Give the students some instance variables like name and age, and maybe a method to print their details. Once you conquer that, you can move to step 2, the big assignment. Build an employee management system. This one is going to require multiple instance variables like salary and department, and methods to maybe give them a promotion or calculate a holiday bonus. Before we completely wrap up, I want to issue a direct challenge to you right now. Here is your quiz. Open up your code editor today, create just one single custom class, and instantiate at least 2 unique objects from it using everything we just covered. Seriously, don't just sit there and listen. Actively test your knowledge. Put those blueprint and house concepts into actual working code.
And I'll leave you with a classic interview question to think about. Can you clearly explain the exact difference between a class and an object? You now know a class is the theoretical blueprint, and an object is the tangible, physical instance. But as you go about your day-to-day, just look around and ask yourself, what other real-world systems around you are just waiting to be modeled into classes and objects? Think on that, keep practicing your code, and I will see you in the next explainer.